Okay guys, so as we're getting our stragglers in, figure be respectful of your time and thank you for being here on time. So Milan is here because when he was teaching Ignite, who was here for Milan's Ignite session? So I can't even remember your topic, but he broke into all of these amazing scripts, which had me saying, hey, let's bring Zach for a script session.
Perfect timing.
So, yeah, absolutely. So he's here to share his knowledge with you, and I'm just going to leave you the floor. You guys are going to want to take notes, but we are recording this. So Andy will have everything available for you tomorrow, so whatever you miss, you can just listen to again and take better notes.
Great, thanks very much, Irene. It's great being back here again. Thanks for the repeats. That means a lot to me, actually. My name is Milan. Just to give you a little bit of background. Well, actually, before we get started, is there anybody here who's not with KW? Okay, so you're all with KW. Anybody here in the business within the last year? Just started within the last year? Show of hands. Okay, great. Anybody within the last 3 to 5 years that's been in the business? Awesome. Anybody more than that? Okay, great. Okay, so we've got a good...
Sorry, I was confused. I've been here for a long time.
Oh, since July, okay. I just want to give you a little bit of background about myself. I come from a family of realtors. My dad started in 1985. He couldn't speak English. I actually had to help him with his real estate courses. Yeah, exactly.
Same today.
Yeah. And we'll edit that.
And what did I say when you failed the first course?
People who don't speak English pass. That's what he yelled at me.
And my dad made a transition. He was a truck mechanic, and he worked within the community, and he had a lot of people that spoke the same language, so he didn't need to learn how to speak English. And he made a change. He got into real estate, and he's never looked back. He's 79 years old. This year he will be. He's had the biggest real estate year last year that he's had his entire career. That man just keeps going and going and going. Something I learned from him, and it was always a really big struggle for me, like when I was helping him with his courses, where do you get business from? Didn't make sense to me. And then when you sold something, where do you get your next business from? And it really worried me. You know, I was like 12 or 13 years old at the time, right? And I cared about my dad's success. Well, he joined a company, and at that time it was a great training program, and at that time brokers used to actually pay for the big trainers to come in, right? And in a matter of 6 months of not being able to speak English, right, it was rudimentary, he ended up getting, I think it was about 26 listings in the first 6 months in a market area where they all spoke English and they didn't speak any other languages. If you guys are familiar with the Kingsway, that kind of pretty much answers it. And back about 30 years ago, it was a different environment. But he got 26 listings. And it makes you wonder. So let's fast forward a little bit. I have an identical twin brother. He's in real estate as well. He's been licensed since 1991. He started when he was 18. I started in 1996. And I think I was around 23 years old. So I've got about 2 decades in the business. About 3 years ago, I decided to make the switch. I was with Remax all that time. And I joined KW. Well, that's where my career started. So I was a salesperson for 19 years. And then I decided to have a career. And that's why I switched to KW. Everything's changed. Right? So when people ask me how long you've been in the real estate business, it's 3 years. How long was I a salesperson? The first 19 years. Okay, so because of this transformation, I really needed to look inwardly. Right? I'm one of these people, I need to figure out why. And it needs to make sense. I need to have these visuals, and I need to be able to relate it to things. And I thought about my dad. You know, he had a lot of limitations. You know, he'd call up and ring, ring, ring on the phone. He'd be cold calling and says, "Hello, you know, Milan, Bauk, Century 21." Right? And people responded to it. It wasn't the words. It wasn't the volume of words that he was using. It was about the clarity. and speaking to people, as well as the clarity of being able to listen to what they're actually saying and respond to it, right? For 19 years, I really didn't understand, and I made that change. So communication was my thing that I lacked. I was able to do everything else. I had a personality, right? I had a suit, I had a car, I had all these things. But what didn't I have? The ability to be able to communicate with confidence and clarity. You see, our whole goal is to make people feel comfortable and confident when we're with them. This is why they're signing the contract tonight. And that's always our goal, is to get that contract signed, right? So, okay, fine. I'm all gangbusters. I'm gonna research the hell out of this and I'm gonna start. So one of my first challenges were, I could find the information, and one of my first challenges were, how do I find somebody to do it with, right? Okay, I couldn't find anybody. And if you're in that situation right now, I'm gonna give you some homework at the end of exactly what I did. So you can do exactly what I did, and within a matter of 30 days, you're gonna find exponential change in your business, as well as your personality and your confidence, and how you come across to people. Things do become easier, okay? Can I ask here, who currently scripts? 1, 2, anybody else? No? Who here has tried scripting? Okay. Can I ask, do you mind if I ask you, you tried it, and why did you stop?
Well, it's a good question. I did scripting because it was, at the beginning of my career, I did Brian Buffini's 100 Days to Greatness, and there were a lot of scripts that I remembered. And particularly, at the start of my career, I needed the scripts because I felt like you're floundering, you don't know anything, and it was handy to roll back onto those things. And when you're new, you've got that giant invisible line, blue sign flashing over your head.
Yeah.
And the scripts really helped me turn that sign on. But my father was born in Belfast and never had a problem with speaking.
Yeah, the gift of gab, yeah.
And I still rely on things, and sometimes those scripts have come, like I just hear I sold houses with phrases Brian Buffini said to me, which he stole from Joe Stone. But, it's just like, here's a chance to say that. It's there. There are tools that are there.
Okay.
It's always good to revisit, and I realize that I've let those skills get rusty. I'm not prospecting enough, but I got a prospecting list.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's really relatable. We have the whole Christmas season, we've had the New Year's and everything, and it's been a little while since I've had the opportunity to be able to present, right? And I had a little bit of anxiety today. Before I came up, it's like, well, okay, hold on a second. I was great before, and many times I was great talking about these things, but am I a little bit rusty? So the best thing to do is throw yourself back in the fire. Do it, right? Because when you're getting rusty, you are missing out on little pieces. You're either missing out on the ability to hear what people are actually saying, you're actually missing out on how you're presenting that information to them and the types of questions that you're asking, right? So take those opportunities. I mentioned to Irene, go ahead, Irene.
I think part of the challenge for a lot of real estate salespeople, but I'm sure others, is that when you hear the word script, you kind of roll your eyes either realistically or in your head because, it's a script, it's going to be fake. So what a lot of us have to understand is that scripts are there for a reason, and you make them your own so that they're not scripts anymore. It's just how you talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you'll go to a Mike Ferry event or you'll go to a Buffini event, and then you'll get typical responses. Who here kind of feels like, scripts aren't natural for you? Can I get a show of hands? Yeah. Do you think yourself as well? Do you feel sometimes, if it's not natural, I really don't want to do it and I want to kind of find my own way? Right? And I don't blame you, because that's the number one thing that you'll hear at any one of these symposiums or presentations. And Irene, you nailed it on the head. I thought the same way. I absolutely did. My situation was that I had no choice. I had absolutely no choice. But then to learn it, because everybody else did. Kevin LaRose, he's presented here before. We share a little bit of the similar background. He comes from the vacuum sales industry. He was Kirby, I was Filter Queen. I was the #1 salesperson across Canada, right? Vacuum salespeople, we all depended on scripts. because scripts work. And the reason they work is because it's a systematic way of taking a person through a journey. You take them into that introduction, the body of why that's important, eventually bringing them to that conclusion where you get an emotional response, right? And the better that you're able to tell that story, really of what a script is, the more effective you're going to be. The more people that don't like you, the more that people will understand what you're saying, they'll feel comfortable with you, right? So I want to share with you why I had no choice. Kevin had no choice, and if he's presenting here before, I don't think he'd mind me repeating this because he says it all the time. He had no choice because his business failed previously. He had to make money. Sam McDaddy, if you're familiar with him, you know, he got into the business just before everything collapsed. And then he knew everything collapsed because he had 3 transactions that just didn't close, and he had no money. So he had to do something. A lot of these top people, if you start listening to their stories, their great motivator was they had no choice. And when you have no choice, your ego will not get in the way. You've got to make it happen, right? Who here is a parent? Okay. You know, the diaper gets full. What do? You change it. Baby's hungry. What do? You feed it. I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't care where it is. In the car, driving somewhere. You do what you have to do. And that was my trigger. I had a brand new wife, a brand new baby. We just got her a place. We didn't spend our time together while she was pregnant. We got her a place. We moved in. 2 days later, she gives birth. We didn't know each other. Just spent all my money outfitting the house, outfitting the baby stuff and everything else, right? And I had to go and work, right? It's a great motivator, and if you're not in that position right now, right, use it as a tool of your past experiences of what it's like to be a parent. Why am I just saying, okay, I can wait, I can hold off, right? Why am I doing that? I didn't do that as a new parent. I shouldn't be doing that to my business. What's the purpose of business? Does anybody here have an idea?
To fund a perfect life.
Yeah? You know, and I think we'd all agree that we all want a perfect life, right? So do these things, you know, and remind yourself every time that you're going to be, you know, I really don't feel like it, I'll wait till tomorrow, right? I really don't want to learn a new thing, be it something digital, social media, or whatever else. Whenever you feel like you're going to hold back a little bit and wait till tomorrow, give yourself a kick in the butt. And remind yourself, you didn't do that when you had a baby, you didn't do that when you had this or that, you went out and did it. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about scripting, okay, and about getting over that hump and really understanding what it is. The scripting isn't about you not being yourself. There's a whole process to it. And you can achieve it really quickly. The way that I did it was I memorized it. And I memorized it by just kept repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. I didn't pay too much attention to the periods, the commas, you know, the separate paragraphs. I didn't pay much attention to that. I just kept repeating, 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 repeating. And then from repeating it, I started to add in, where there were commas, a pause. I didn't know why, and it was uncomfortable, but I started to add the pause inside. And I kept repeating, and repeating, and repeating. Eventually what happened was, I'm reading a script, and it's like, oh my God, this is freaking genius. This is what it's saying. And this is how people are internalizing what these words are saying. I saw the genius in it. It took me about 2 or 3 weeks of repeating the same friggin' line. Right? If you've ever learned a new language, the same thing happens when you're learning a new language. You know, you're repeating the phrase or you're repeating the word and you don't understand until one day a light goes off. And that's what happened. I have scripts, and I started this 3 years ago. I have a script that, well, I have a lot of them that are my favorites, right? But I'll read the script today, And I found out something completely new I've never seen before in that same 2 paragraphs. Another meaning of how it affects somebody. You can discover something brand new in that same phrase even 2 years later, 3 years later. It affects you differently, your mind expands. A great relatable thing is I just had a conversation with somebody on the weekend, and they said they went to a place where there's a lot of monastery with a lot of monks and that sort of thing. And he says, you know, it's awesome. You know, there's guys there that have been there for 10, 15 years, and all they're doing is chanting the same phrase or the same prayer over and over and over and over again, 15 years later. That same prayer means something different in the first year to the 15th year. You're discovering the wisdom in the words. And the wisdom of the words can mean differently to you in different times of your life. Okay, so that was my process. A secret that I had and how to be able to achieve that was I took a script, took an objection, and I'd go around to the office. And I'd go to the receptionist, or I'd go to the deal secretary, or I'd go to the manager, I'd go to Sunny, right? I didn't care who, I had no shame because I was building my business. And my business was gonna fund a perfect life. My perfect life are my children, I have 2 now, my children and my wife, as well as my parents. So if anybody's gonna laugh at me to try to fund my perfect life and support my parents and support my children and support my wife, well, too bad for them. Right? I really don't care. Right? And this is how confident I was. I really decided, you know, why am I doing this? I never wrote it down, but it was such an emotional response. So I'd go up to Sunny, or I'd go up to Derek, or I'd go up to somebody and I'd say, you know, tell me you have a friend in the business. And they'd look at me strangely and, why are you asking me this question? And I'd be like, yeah, tell me you have a friend in the business. Right? And I'd be like, awesome, fantastic, you know, most everybody does. And I would go through my objection. I'd have a piece of paper in front of me, reading it to them. I'd finish my script, my objection handle, and I'd say thanks, and I'd walk away. They're standing stunned. They have no idea what the hell is happening, and I don't care. Because they were my script partner. And I didn't have to ask them to be my script partner. I just went and did it. I'd go to agents, I'd go to an event, and I'd say, tell me you have a friend in the business. I'd go to a party where there's no realtors there, and I'd say, tell me you have a friend in the business.
It's gotta be at least one other realtor, come on. How many
Well,
friends?
yeah,
That means you have a friend.
yeah. Well, wife's side of the family now. And then I expanded it everywhere. I didn't care. And I got better. And I got better. And I got better. And I got better. And the beauty about this is you're building credibility. You're building credibility with your colleagues. You're building credibility with your family, your friends, and people that you don't even realize are listening. I believe Irene and I talked about this story. I went to a party and it was my wife's side of the family. They're in the Hammer, right? And it's a different group of people. It's a different mindset, right? And I'm standing over there, and my brother-in-law, he's a bit of an opinionated person, and he's with a bunch of other opinionated people, and they're talking about, oh, you know, this realtor just made, you know, $20,000 and didn't do anything in a day, and this and that. And I'm like, okay, well, they're really, excuse my language, but they're poo-pooing on it, right? And this is my business, so I could take it one of 2 ways. Traditionally, I would take great offense, because I feel like that they're insulting me. And what I do. No, they weren't. They were just talking. People like to complain about things. They do, until they hear a different way of seeing something. So here's my opportunity. So I said, yeah, you know, you guys are absolutely right. Most agents don't do anything to be able to get the money, to be able to earn their income. I absolutely agree with you. Dead stop. My brother-in-law and my wife's cousins and whoever else were there, they expected one thing, dead stop, and they're like, what? And they all looked at me. There was a physical reaction where their ears opened up. There was a physical reaction where their eyes went, boom, like lasers on me. Curious, like, what the hell did you just do? You just shocked the hell out of us. What do you mean by that? How's this coming out of your mouth? What I did was I validated them. Sorry, I acknowledged them. And I validated them. They talk about that in the scripts all the time. You know, for me, my greatest influence in scripting of who I consider an absolute master at it is John Ferber. I don't know if you know John, but John is like a master. He'll take a 5-paragraph script and say it in one sentence and get the same effect. Like, that's master level. He's customized. He's made it his own. Where did that come from? From doing it so many times and figuring out and starting to understand where's the genius in that script. And when you start to understand that genius, you start to shorten it. And shorten it and shorten it, and it becomes even more so your own and becomes efficient. And John says, you know, validate and acknowledge. And everywhere you go, they say validate and acknowledge. Well, what's the power behind that? Well, I have a whole bunch of people that are very closed-minded, very opinionated. They want to see me kind of buckle and get emotional about things, and I just validated them. That lesson on that day, that specific lesson, is what solidified my decision to keep doing it. It solidified how this can affect everything else, not just in signing contracts, booking appointments. How this can affect my relationship with people, my wife, my children, and every person that I meet. So, really quickly, it's me, nothing goes quickly. So I got into the script, and I kind of, it was one that it's one of my favorite, and I've read it so many times, and
The
I've
party
always.
script.
Sorry?
It's the party script.
The party script, yeah, or you know, or the one where, which one is it? What are you gonna do for marketing? Right? Or the 3 Ps. You know, put a sign and whatever, right? There's variations on it. And I said, yeah, you know, you're absolutely right. Most realtors don't do anything to get their business. Did you know that there's actually 2 types of realtors? And I get this like, well, of course there are. We know that. Yeah, you know, there's passive and there's active. See, a passive agent will just go out there, you know, put a sign on the property, throw some flyers out there and do an open house. And then sit there on his hands, doing nothing, praying that someone will come with an offer. Right? And I absolutely agree, it works. Oh my God. When I told them that that works, the looks on their faces, again, astonishment. You just agreed that there are agents, that they do these basic things, and an offer will just show up. Who are you? They want to hear more. So then I say, yeah, and it works. Although there's another type of agent, it's an active agent, just like me. So I'll do all those things. In addition to that, I'll go out and find the buyer for the property. They'd look at me like, you'd see the facial expression like, how do you do that? They don't have to ask the question, you see the expression. How do you do that? Well, you know, I'll go around and I'll knock on every single door before the property goes on the market. Ask them, who do they know that wants to buy a house? Do they want to buy a house? Right? Or if they want to sell their house. Well, what's the power in that? And here's another genius thing. People want to hire somebody that's actually going to go out there and do something that's effective. They don't want anybody that's going to be a roundabout. You know, oh, come to my open house and see if you like it and give me some opinions. They don't want that. They want you, when somebody comes into the open house, to say, Do you want to buy this house? This is what your clients are looking for. Who do you know that wants to buy this house? Get it to the point. This is why you're doing the open house for the client. And on top of that, what I'll do is, I'll take a look and see, before it goes on the market, I'll see what's available for sale, and I'll go and visit all the houses available for sale. And I'll photograph the business cards on the table. Agents leave business cards. Right? Now they're really getting curious. You're photographing? I've never heard this. Yeah, and I compile a list of agents that have shown houses, because those agents have the buyers that are looking for a house just like yours. And the simple reason I do that is, God forbid, we put your house on the market, and just the day before, the right buyer bought another house and didn't know about yours. So do you think I could sell your house? They say, yeah. Would you want me to sell your house? Yeah. Awesome. Left it like that and walked away. Little old man comes up to me, taps me on the shoulder, quietly pulls me to the side and says, Milan, my wife and I, we've been listening to what you were talking about, and we've dealt with real estate agents before. We've never heard a realtor talk like that. See things in that way. We have a cottage we want to sell, and we want to buy another property. Can you please help us? The words were, can you please help us? Not like, I'll give you the opportunity to come and do a presentation. They made their decision. First time that ever happened. And I'm like, wow, I can really make money doing this. Right? How much money can I save on flyers? How much money can I save on social media? How much money can I save on so many other things? How much money can you save on billboards? Which I don't know if any of you are doing billboards, but if you're paying that much money, you're not capturing people's information, you might want to reconsider your budgeting. Right? This costs me absolutely no money to be able to do. Go ahead.
You touched on something that probably a lot of the people in this room want to hear, with a friend in the business.
Yeah.
Are you going to be getting to that?
Oh, remind me again, please, sorry.
Your friend, I have a friend in the business script.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one's awesome.
There's no waiting.
Okay?
Yeah, that one's awesome.
I just didn't want you to forget about that, because a lot of us want to know that one.
Yeah, most everybody has a friend in the business. My brother has a license, I have a license, my dad has a license. We share a lot of the same people within the same community that know us. I'm an extrovert, right? I'm a high I. I'm really high I, right? My brother's a high I. My dad's a high D, right? He's just a driver. And you would think within the family that there would be issues. How do we get the business or whatever else? And that's just talking about us. But you can go door knock an area, you'll find 5 realtors on the street. If I go and door knock that, and it has happened before, I've door knocked and I've had realtors sign listing agreements with me. Right, and it poses a question. Well, the question is answered in the script, right? Do you have a friend of the, sorry, I have a friend of the business. Tell me you have a friend of the business.
I've got a friend in the business.
Now, it's been a little while since I said it, but okay, you have a friend of the business. Awesome, that's fantastic. Most everybody does. Although I'd like to ask you a question. Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, has it ever happened that a friend, you needed something, and a friend said, hey, listen, before you go anywhere, all right, come to me first, I'll help you out. Hasn't that ever happened?
Yeah.
You weren't necessarily happy with the results?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Well, considering your home is your biggest investment, don't you think you at least deserve a second opinion? That wouldn't hurt, would it? And then they go, yeah, it's only a second opinion. Awesome, fantastic. What works best for you? Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday.
And it's just a second opinion. That's all it is. We all have that experience that a friend of ours is a hairstylist. A friend of ours does nails. A friend of ours does something, and they're your friend, but they're not necessarily the best. You're looking for value as a customer, and this is where I want to transition into another thing. What is really an objection? When someone is asking you the question or telling you that they have a friend in the business, is that necessarily an objection? Who here thinks that's an objection?
Fact. Stating a fact.
It's a fact. It's also a cry for help. You see, when somebody says that they have a friend in the business, they're saying, I don't know what to say to my friend. Why could I book an appointment with Milan? I don't know why. Can you help me? Can you help me with a reason that is logical, plausible, something that makes sense, that I'm comfortable with? Because we're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that's at stake here. Would you go to a friend who happens to be a brain surgeon that isn't so good? Or do you want the best one? I have a friend, he's a neurosurgeon, I wouldn't go to him. Right? It might be because I know him since we were kids, right? But, you know, and that's what really the objection is all about. It's not an objection, it's a question of, I need armor. I need some ammunition here. Can you help me out? As a person in the area, all they do is blanket the area in flyers. They have all the business supposedly. And every person will say, well, I don't know, these agents, you know, they have all the business in the area. What they're really trying to ask you is, okay, there's these people, their signs are all over the place. I have you here for an appointment. If I really wanted to list with them, I would have done it already. But I have you here for an appointment. Can you explain to me the positives and negatives of going with you or going with them? Something that makes me feel comfortable and confident about signing with you. Yeah, absolutely, I can do that for you. Anybody triggered here a little bit? Like, is it starting to make a little bit of sense? Right? If you can go, and you know, you have somebody, they have a lot of signs in the area. Never heard of you. Well, okay. Right? What's the reality? What's the absolute truth about somebody who has a lot of signs in the area? The absolute truth is they're representing the seller. Are they bringing any buyers? Are they?
They might be, but usually it's a different broker.
Usually. And then you have the statistics and you bring the comparables with you. And you can show them that, you know, it was Roy LePage or Harvey Calso was the listing agent, or whoever it may be, but oh my God, it was KW that represented the buyer. Oh my God, it was somebody else that represented the buyer. This is your opportunity to be able to say, you know something, you're absolutely right. I don't list a lot of homes in this area for one very simple reason. The reason is I list a lot of homes in another area. And then my sellers end up buying here. And since I already have a relationship with the buyers for your area, it only makes sense that I start listing homes here. Doesn't that make sense?
It would if you have the buyer. So what if you don't? What if you're trying to break into a farm? Because a lot of our agents are considering starting a farm. So if you have a listing, that's great. Knock, 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 looking for a buyer. I have a listing in the area. That's fairly simple for a lot of people. What about somebody who's trying to break into a farm?
Oh, bless you.
Thanks.
If you're trying to break it, well, it depends upon how the questions are. In the whole process of handling objections or handling these questions, you really got to see how the conversation is starting and what leads into next and what's important to them. So I'll always tailor it to what they're wanting, right? So let's say you're absolutely brand new, they've never heard of you. Use the statistics for Keller Williams for the activity of our individual agents. Use those statistics. We sell more per agent. We do more per agent. We're better educated than the rest of the realtors. We know more about the market. We're up to date with technology. we have the ability to be able to bring more buyers to your home than anybody else. And these are the reasons why. You're monetizing Keller Williams to give you that credibility to be able to get that listing. Keeping in mind though, that it's not just all about Keller Williams, people are hiring you. You take two KW agents, they're both rookies, and they're both at the listing presentation. Why is one gonna get it and not the other? Forget about commission, they're charging the same commission.
Relationship, connection.
Yeah, how are you building that trust? I guarantee you that the reason that the one is getting it from the other is because they built a bridge of trust in some way. I'm absolutely aware of whenever I'm talking to somebody for the first time, I'm here in front of you guys. I happen to have 3 that have been here before, including you, Irene. So I've already started building that trust from before. With the rest of you, this is all fresh, right? So there are steps to building that trust, right? One of the ways that I do it, and sorry, just one second. It all comes from the script, one of my first scripts that I learned, right? And KW's got a huge selection of scripts that you can use for door knocking and for telephone soliciting, right? So this is just a generic script, right? And there's a lot of genius behind it, all right? And I'll break it down for you. Do you guys mind?
No, please.
Is this interesting for you? Okay. It's got to make sense. If I'm going to be invested in something, it's got to make sense. And I found out how it makes sense to me. So yeah, your standard, hi, my name is Milan, I'm with KW. And we just listed a home for sale over on 32 Highgate Street. It has 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and it's listed for $2.3 million. And I was wondering, pause. Who do you know that would like to move into our area? The genius about this is that you're getting straight to the point. And then the other part that you're doing now is you're associating yourself with their area, which this is our area. It might be a little bit subconscious, you might kind of blow over it and think that's not important, but just having that one word in there, you've just imprinted something subconsciously with them, that you're part of the area you started a story. So they say, no, we don't know anybody. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to think about it. Pause. Tell me, pause. When do you plan on moving? Before I get into this question, the reason for the pause, and we're talking, you've been to Bold? Any of you been to Bold? Okay. I don't know if Bold really talks about why there's a pause. I needed to find out why, and I found out why. Pausing, for one thing, slows the speech down. And if you slow the speech down, people will pay attention. They have time to process your 3 or 4 words at a time and really listen to what you're saying. Second part to it is a pause creates dramatic effect. And that dramatic effect keeps people interested. What are you going to say next? What are you going to say next? What are you going to say next? And they'll keep listening, creating a basis for conversation and trust by pausing. Okay? First question. When do you plan on moving? Wait for an answer. Never. Awesome. Just validated you. Oh my God, this stranger told me I'm right about something. My wife never says that about me. And if she does, she pulls it back. Right? Someone just told me I'm smart for not moving, ever. Great. How long have you lived at this address? Oh my God. They were asking about me, my decision process. How long I've been here. This is something really personal. They care about me. It goes that deep, subconsciously they are feeling that deep sensation.
Yeah, can I ask you a question, just as you're going through this? Now, is this something you're doing on the phone or at the door?
I do it at the door, I do it at the phone, I do it everywhere.
So do you find so at the door it's a little bit easier because you have that relationship, you have that face-to-face. Do you find when you're on the phone with strangers, we're not talking about people in our sphere, but you are on the phone with people you don't know, do you find they'll be willing to stay on the phone?
Yeah.
And answer those questions?
Yeah, if you're pausing, so before I did the Filter Queen, I did telemarketing for Filter Queen. So we had about 3 hours to book appointments, and the average was about 8 to 10 appointments. I booked 20, 25 in a night. And then from there, I was able to practice and experiment over the phone telemarketing, different techniques, sounding like a radio personality, going really quickly, like a speedster, and everything else. So from that personal experience, I was able to get to the point where that pause, right, actually kept people engaged, wondering what are you going to say next, right? Go ahead.
Do people ever feel like you're scamming them when you ask them these questions? Because I find that when we tried the Mojo Dialer and we would go through something like this, that people were like, if you're a real estate agent, you should be able to look up my address and know all these questions. What do you actually want?
Yeah, because they don't trust you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like you can pause all you want, but those
Yeah.
questions make people now in this day and age feel like you're,
Go ahead.
Can I interject super quick? I was literally cold calling this morning
yeah.
and doing a just sold similar to the just listed, and had people, like, as soon as I said, oh, are you thinking about moving? No. Oh, great. That's really nice to hear. The neighborhood's great. How long have you been here? 11 years. Oh, cool. If you're to move, where you, like, people, some won't, some will.
Older people love it.
Yeah.
Anyone under
That's
the
right.
age of 50 will
Yeah.
call you on this. That's been my experience.
You were
Oh, and if
supposed
they're
to
calling on
once.
it, those are like the best people ever. No, I'm not being facetious, and I'm not sarcastic. No, it really is. I had, Ben came in, and I tell this story, he came into an open house, and he challenged me, and challenged me, and challenged me, and challenged me, and every experience he had with a realtor was horrible. And I went, that's awesome! And he went, what do you mean that's awesome? I said, well, because they made my job so much easier. I'm gonna look like a genius, right?
But I think it's different someone coming into your open house and doing it, you're face to face, but like what do you mean over the phone when someone's telling you, go to hell, like you're scamming me? How do you handle that
Yeah.
over the phone as opposed to face interaction?
And it's a great question because I'm like such a high, which means that I'm extremely sensitive to rejection, more so than most people, and criticism.
You may want to explain D&I to people who don't know the disc.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Have anybody here heard about the disc profile?
Heard about. It's just different personality
Okay,
types.
so there's 4
D's
different.
driver.
Yeah, so there's 4 different parts to a person's personality, and we're a combination of those 4 things. And it's a psychological profile test that I did when I first joined KW. And what it does is it measures how much of a decision maker do you have to be in your life? How much of an influencer do you need to be in your life? How much of the I, what was the I again? No, the
S
S.
is stability.
How stable do you have, how much stability do you need in your life? And then C was
The detail.
the details, yeah, planning details.
So D's drive, C's crazy.
Yeah, decision making, yeah, exactly. So people who are high Cs, meaning that their psychological profile, the thing that is the highest in their personality that makes them happy is the C. And those people are computer programmers, lock them in a room with no lights, they don't need to talk to anybody, and they'll plan everything from start to the absolute end, in the minutiae, right? A D personality is a person that needs to be making decisions for themselves. Now there's different levels of that, and the higher the D is, the more so you need that in your life. I is an influencer. Influencer means somebody who needs to talk to people, needs to socialize, needs to be heard, needs to be patted on the back saying that, you know, you did something really good and I like what you said. There's the opposite to that, right? And that is where if I'm told that I'm full of it, or what I'm saying is ridiculous and how much of a dummy I am for not knowing something, it really affects me emotionally. It makes me sad, right? It's really hard to take, right? So when you're calling people, okay, so that's the disc personality. okay? So I happen to be a high I. There is a holy grail, and the holy grail is like a Steve Jobs or a Gary Keller, self-made billionaires. Their D is at the maximum, their I is at the minimum, their S is at the minimum, which is administrative, right? And then their C is at the maximum. You see, these people never care about what your opinion is of them. It goes in one ear and out the other. Some people interpret this, like Steve Jobs, as being somebody who just uses you for what they can. And when they've used you, they throw you on the side. How mean and nasty is that? Well, they have no concept that it's mean and nasty. Because as far as they're concerned, they made a plan to the maximum in such detail, and they made the absolute decision to attack that plan. Nothing else matters. You were a piece that was part of the plan to make the plan happen. And if you haven't made a plan for yourself, well, what can I do about that? Nothing, I'll just keep moving forward, right? So, telephone soliciting, it's really hard. Door knocking, it's really hard for me. It's hard for me to pick up the phone. Because someone's gonna say, what the hell are you doing? You're bothering me.
Right.
Don't waste my friggin' time.
I know one of those, and I'm like, oh.
Oh, I'm getting emotional just saying that response. I'm feeling it, like, yeah, I'm feeling it. It's making me sad.
Anxiety setting in.
Exactly. So what is your reaction when you do get a harsh response like that?
Well, I had to look at the mathematics of it, right? I've got to understand why this is happening, right? I'm calling somebody on the phone, let's say an area has 1,000 homes. How many people need to move? Because they have a 2-bedroom, and now they've got 2 kids, and they need a 3-bedroom. And puberty's coming. That's a fact. If you have any clients that they have a 2-bedroom condo and they've got 2 kids now, well, guess what? They're buying something very soon. And they're selling, right? So if I pick up the phone, and if the area is mostly retirees, right? You know, let's say 900 of them are, I'm just throw a number out, 1,000 homes, let's say 900 are retirees. How many of them are gonna need to move? Because of divorce, because of family expansion, because of job transfer, because of whatever, well, very small percentage. I can't expect that half of them are gonna say, I'm motivated and I have a reason to move. I'll tell you this though, that when somebody makes a decision that they need something, they want it now. They'll turn a no into a yes. You don't have to do any convincing. They're gonna be like, God, and I was just talking to my wife about it yesterday, and I happened to get a phone call from you. Right? The simplified thing that people say is it's a numbers game, but that's what really the numbers game means. I didn't understand what numbers game means until I started to see it in my way. Out of 1,000 homes, how many people will have to move because the family's expanding? Or they got a job promotion, or this was their first home and they were planning for their second. How many people have to? I only want to deal with people who have to. Go ahead.
I think you've answered the practical reality question. I think maybe what Monique wanted to know is emotionally how you deal with it.
Yeah, what do you say? What do you answer
Yeah.
to that exact thing?
And how do you move on?
I
Because
ignore
we
it.
need to move on.
What do
I
you
ignore
say
it
to
because I
them?
know the numbers. So if they give me, if they really give me that much of a pushback, I just ignore their response. I just don't pay any attention to it.
Thank you very much. Next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
just
it.
move to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
that's it.
And go ahead.
The calling that Robin was talking about, I went out to door knock. This was a listing that we had for over 3 months.
Yeah.
And it sold twice. We had it was lowball offers till what's that?
That was the West Wing?
That was the West Wing. And we finally sold it in competition with 4 offers. So we had a really good story because we were telling everybody we could have sold it 10 times over if we wanted to take a lowball offer, and we just waited for the best price. That's short of it. But when I was knocking last night in the rain, there were all kinds of people that were lovely, and then this one older man who looked nice when he came to the door, but he wasn't. And I said, "Hi, I'm Irene. We just sold the house at number 68, a few doors over from you. I'm not selling." "Oh, okay. That's great. You know, it's a great neighborhood. Do you know anybody?" "No." And he started closing the door, and then just right at the end, he did a little slam.
Yeah.
Just to make that point. And I thought, okay, that's my no. And I just kept going, like, you have to,
So,
because you can't say anything to
You
that.
can't, but Irene, how many doors have you knocked?
Yeah.
Like 10,000?
Yeah, what's the percentage?
How many people have like terrified you with their angry response?
Sometimes one per outing, but most times no.
Yeah.
I think we
Aren't
make
that
it up,
many,
we create it.
We create that anxiety, right?
Because, yeah, because you think like, what do
Yeah.
you say to somebody like that? Well, you don't.
You can't.
You just move
They
on,
clearly don't
right?
want
It's
to.
not
You
a
don't
script.
know what their
it's the-
paradigm is and what happened to them a half an hour
Yeah,
before.
yeah, maybe they're in a bad mood.
Yeah, the numbers
Yeah,
facts,
maybe there's
the facts of the numbers actually is what calmed my emotional. Because I believe, when I actually understood what are the numbers, then it calmed my emotional response. John was part of this as well, John Ferber, lovely guy. You know, I went up to him and I said, what do you say to somebody that, you know, their response is in a pine box? And he says, next. Right? And you're a genius. Okay, next.
There's no script for that.
There is, I got one at Bold.
What is it?
So it's
Where will
great
that
when
be?
happening. And when they laugh you say, no, in all seriousness, it is good to have arrangements made in advance. It's good to know what your house is worth. We can do an evaluation.
Yeah,
Go from there.
yeah, absolutely, right? People want to shock you, go ahead.
Haven't actually used it.
Have you heard that no means next opportunity?
That's right.
I haven't heard that one.
Yes.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you know,
That's good.
don't focus even, you know, a second on negative people because there's so many people, as you know, like what was it last year or the year before, 100,000 transactions in the GTA?
Yeah.
Down to 78 last year.
78,000?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's
Regardless, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
for every no,
many
there's,
thousands of
Right.
people, right?
Yeah.
And you only have to skim a little bit of that to make a good living, so.
Yeah.
Ben's friend, I'll talk quickly about Ben. So Ben is like one of these people that he scares the heck out of real estate agents. And he came to my open house, and you have to remember that he's got realtors that are friends that he grew up with, that he was in university with, and they're part of the same fraternity, right? One of them, his brother's a partner in a well-known real estate company that does online stuff or whatever. And I was talking to him, and he says, well, you know, if you could show me why you would be worth $20,000, he was very direct, right? And he gave me all these things that were so direct in your face, and I just kept saying, yeah, absolutely, awesome, what works best for you, Monday or Tuesday? He couldn't believe that I said, what works best for you, Monday or Tuesday? I ignored, in some sense, what he was saying, the shock value, and I just stuck with my script. Great, what works best for you, Monday or Tuesday? He goes, Tuesday. I said, awesome.
So what if you were to say, okay, just tell me, give me an idea of what you're gonna do for me. Why should I give you $20,000?
Awesome, what works best for you, for me to show you what I do to get a great deal for my clients or to get top dollar for my clients. What works best for you, Monday or Tuesday?
So you wouldn't actually deal with that question
No.
there?
No.
You'd
No.
figure out, you prepare.
No, what do you charge for
You're not
commission?
supposed to.
Great, what works best for you, Monday or Tuesday? What makes you different? Great, what works best for you, Monday or Tuesday? Right? How many properties have you sold in this area? Great, fantastic, what works best for you, Monday or Tuesday?
But don't you
Doesn't
think that
listen.
people feel, what,
Yeah, you're being,
when you're listening to what I answered?
Yeah, I did listen, that's why we're
question?
booking an appointment for Monday or Tuesday, so I can show you everything of what I do to be able to get top dollar from my clients. That only makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes, of course.
Awesome, great. Monday or Tuesday.
I want you as a client.
Right? So people will ask you questions, and I'll call them pre-qualification. I say, are there any questions that you have for me, you know, for when I arrive on that day? And they'll say, yeah, the commission, awesome, fantastic. We'll cover that when I see you on Tuesday. Great. I go there and I say, hey, great guys, you know, do you have any questions? Yeah, what do you charge for commission? Fantastic. Well, it's only fair that I show you what I do and find out if we actually like each other, we want to work together, doesn't it? Before we start talking about the commission. That only makes sense, doesn't it? And it's only fair, right?
That's a great phrase.
And they say, yeah, that's only fair. Absolutely. I don't know anything about you. I say, you may not like me. I may not like you. All right, let's find out if we do.
It doesn't matter.
then it doesn't matter, then you go through your presentation. Who says that you have to talk about things when they ask you the question? Now, remember the questions that they ask.
Write them down.
Write them down. Be
So
respectful.
yeah.
Be respectful about it and cover it, and don't forget the details. Right? And then you get to the end, the conclusion. So, did that answer the question about, I hope it did, about the telemarketing? When you're calling, you might find one person out of 200 that's ready today. Expect 199 no's. However they may come. Right? But you're going to get that one. The reason that we're doing the telephone calls is because you have the opportunity to be able to talk to a larger volume of people at one time. At the same time, with door knocking, you're going to see people face to face, and I'm a huge proponent of door knocking. Right? All you guys, you know, you look really good. If you showed up at my door, I'd open it, I'd talk to you. Right? And it's a great way to be able to engage people and to talk to them if you're door knocking. Best thing is if you can do door knocking and telephone soliciting at the same time.
Yeah, Robin. We're doing that right now.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
like, what am I doing?
No, do them both at the same
Yeah,
time.
we're doing that.
Right? And they'll start to associate the phone call with the face, and then when you do make that phone call and they've seen your face, you've built a level of trust. We're all about building trust here.
He doesn't mean to be on the phone while you're That's what
Milan, I think we're getting some questions about things that are really specific. Would it make sense for us just to maybe see if there are some specific questions
Okay,
that
go ahead.
people have? Is there any, like, does anybody have anything burning, like something that has been asked of you or something that's been sort of lingering that you'd want to hear how Milan would respond? Okay, well, I thought there might be.
I
Okay.
do.
Go ahead.
There you go first.
Kind of apropos of what you just said, so you get to the commission
Yeah,
after putting it all to the end,
yeah.
and they say the other three realtors that
easier.
we've met with are charging 4%, taking 1.5%.
Great. Other than
Will
the
you
one
do
and a
that?
half, other than the commission, is there anything else preventing you from signing the contract with me tonight
Right.
to sell your home?
No.
Awesome, fantastic. And then you go into your commission script. No, I won't reduce my commission.
So you don't.
No. Sign the contract. See, you say, no, I won't reduce my commission, pause, and then you point, you say, sign the contract.
I would never do that. Being honest, like,
Do it, and my dad did it, and that's how he got 26 listings in a waspy neighborhood, and he's Eastern European and couldn't speak English.
I
Right,
think the challenge is for, you know, maybe for Donna, who works a little bit differently, trying something
Sure.
that's that direct wouldn't feel like her.
Right.
So the challenge is how do you phrase that so it does feel like you and it's more direct at the same
Yeah.
time.
I'm being more dramatic because I'm in
of
the
course,
class, and
exactly. I bet you don't do it like that, but I get
Yeah.
what you mean.
But you have to
yeah.
have the confidence.
Yeah. If you ever went into our readings listing presentation or let's say a buyer presentation, what you'll notice is that there's points that she's gonna ask questions and she's gonna make statements. Sell your house. I will sell your house. I am the best choice. When I ask you the question, do you think I could sell your house? I get you to say yes. Because I've given you a logical reason why I would be the best choice. And then I say, do you want me to sell your house? Then they go, yes. Well, you continue with your presentation. Asking them again. Asking them again, asking them again. So once you've asked them throughout your presentation about listing with you to sell their house to get top dollar, you've really brought those barriers down and you've built that trust, right? You never want to go in cold and say, you know, give the engagement ring and you never even went on a first date. Like, you build it up, and that's where in the script over here, and that's the reason why I was talking about the script, is how psychologically how you're building this trust. So when do you plan on moving? Never. Terrific. I validated you. Number two, how long have you lived at this address? I care about you. And then I say, you're right for living there for so long. Then I go, where did you move from? I care about your history. this person really cares about me, they care about my history. And I say, wherever you live, that was awesome, right? How did you happen to pick this area? What's your thought process? I chose this area because of school, and that's what was important to me. I chose it because of the community, the synagogue, the church, the whatever, right? And then you end up reaffirming and validating them and agreeing with them. That was the right reason, right? If you were to move, bless you, if you were to move, where would you move to next? I'm interested in what your plans are. I know I've asked you about your thought process, how you made your decision before, what's important for you. I've told you that you are right 4 times. And now I ask, where did you want to move to next? Well, this person really cares. They created credibility with me. And then they'll tell you, well, I think I want to move next to a condominium. Your first question was, when do you plan on moving? Never. It was building this trust through the follow-up questions and agreeing with them and validating them that brought you back to that same question in a different way. If you were to move, and when would you like that to happen? Right? It's a step-by-step process. So when I was being very, and I see we still have that thing about, sign the contract, how that could fit you and not fit you. I want to share with you how I do it, right? Because I'm being dramatic, right? Let me tone it down a little bit. How I do it is I'm going through the process and saying, what's your concern? This is what I do. How do you feel about that? And I'm asking, do you think I could sell your house? Do you want me to sell your house? And then I go, well, I guess all we have to do now is simply sign a contract. And really what you're saying is, we've talked about everything, and I'm asking you the question that you really want to hear. In my past failures, and you learn from your failures, I didn't ask the person to sign the contract, and they said to me, we were ready an hour ago. What took you so long?
Yeah, we talk ourselves.
We talk ourselves out of it. Like, I just lost a listing, right? I did a presentation, and it was 2 hours because it was a buyer and a seller presentation at the same time, right? And I just lost it. Why did I lose it? I asked them, so what could have I done differently? And I asked her, and she was very worried about, hurting my feelings. I said, no, I need to improve myself, and this is how I get feedback, which impressed her. I still didn't get the contract. And she said, because the other guy was 45 minutes in and out the door.
He was 45 minutes.
In and out the
In
door.
and out the door. It took too long, talked too much.
I talk too much. See, I was asking questions and kept asking questions and kept asking questions and kept asking questions and kept asking questions, thinking that I'm giving them more service by continuously asking questions. When it was uncomfortable for me to ask them to sign the contract, that's when I should have asked them to sign the contract. You see, no matter how difficult it was to find, and I was thinking about the problems, wherever they want to downsize into a bungalow and they want it completely renovated, and they want top dollar for their home, but I'd work on the top dollar and we'd adjust that. They were somewhat reasonable with that. But where was I going to find a place within the next 30 days for them to buy? Where? She didn't want to hear about that. She wanted to hear, I'm putting my house up for sale, I'm signing the contract, it's on the market in the next 2 weeks, we'll go and find something, and I don't care, even though I do want it renovated, I really don't care. I want the house sold.
So they could be homeless.
It's all my fault.
They could be homeless.
She didn't care.
So when you did your pre-qualifying questionnaire before you went on the appointment, do you think you could have done something differently then with different questions?
Yeah, she did say to me that, I asked her questions and I really didn't pay attention to her answer. It's my fault, it's all me.
Off day.
It was my off day. Yeah, it was an off day. It's all my fault, although because it's my fault and I own that failure, it's not them. Because I own it, I can improve on it. she's still in my database for referrals. I'm still gonna hit her up for finding a property to buy. She'll sign a contract to sell, right? It hasn't stopped. I'll still keep making the effort, but I think next time it'll be like on a scale of 1 to 10. How important is it to you to sell quickly? How important is it for you for your property to be sold within the next 30 days, within the next 60 days? What would it mean to you if it took longer? Okay, great. So, you know, in the presentation, there's bungalows and none of them are going to be perfect. What's more important to you? You know, buying and selling as soon as possible, or finding the right home to buy? Which is more important to you? I just want to friggin' sell. Okay, great, fantastic, sign the contract. Why am I talking anymore?
Talk yourself out of the deal.
Yeah. Right? So you're customizing everything you're doing, and it's really based on the questions that you're asking and how you're listening to the questions. One of the things on the title for this class is, you know, the questions that you asked, right? And there's something really important about that. You know, asking the questions that really mean something to them, right? So your questions are, you know, you can ask a question, well, have you thought about how, you know, foreign policy or whatever can affect the property value and whatever else? Well, that's really important to you. You just asked a question that probably has nothing to do with them. And now you've just confused everything. And they might think that you're really intelligent and you've got a lot of info, but you're not a person that gets things done. When do you want to move? How quickly? What kind of property? Right? What does it mean to you on a scale of 1 to 10? Use the scale of 1 to 10. I mean, I believe you do that too as well, right? To gauge their motivation, right? Stick to the things that are important to them. And most everybody, and in your scripts, you know, it's all about, and you'll hear Rogers Communication advertise this script, right? They'll use it in their advertising. You know, get you what you want, when you want it. You'll see it cell phone companies, technology companies, whatever it may be, even Amazon. Get what you want when you want it. What you want when you want it. What you want when you want it. Do you know what you want? No, like not in that way, but like, you know, when you're thirsty, do you know what you want? A glass of water, something to drink, right? Well, when you're thirsty, when do you want it?
No.
Okay. And someone tells you, well, yeah, but let's talk about it. Right? Before you have it now, let's talk about it. Have you thought about the different types of water? Have you thought about sparkling water? Have you thought about bottled water? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Oh my, yeah, they're great questions.
I just want water.
I just want water.
No.
And I want it now.
Well, now that you mentioned, I can go for Perrier.
There you go. Right?
So, Milan, I have a question, because
Sure.
right at the beginning, you said you memorized, and then what did you do to take that memorization and wrote and internalize it so that it wasn't sounding like a script, it just sounded like how you talk?
Yeah, that's a great question. I started doing it in public at parties and with friends and family. So I would meet somebody, cashier or whatever. I used everybody for scripting. And for me, actually, prospecting is not scripting.
You're not practicing when you're prospecting. You're
I am
practicing
practicing.
on other people.
Oh,
I'm practicing when I'm prospecting, because every time that you do it is another time that you've done it, you've gotten better at it. So for me, it's always practice. I kind of lost you there for a
Well,
second.
you're not practicing on real clients. You're practicing on, or you are practicing on clients.
I'm practicing on real clients, I'm practicing with everybody. I took the pressure away from having to be successful. I have to have a win every single time. I took the pressure away by saying, this is just practice. And I'd go through the script, right? And I would just go through it and through it. So with friends and family or whatever else, my wife giggles every time it happens. You know, we'll go somewhere, and I'll happen to say, what's your name again?
Robin.
Hey Robin, nice to meet you, right? So do you happen to live in the area?
No.
Whereabouts do you live?
Ajax.
Oh, awesome, that's fantastic. How long have you been living there?
3 years.
3 years, wow, wonderful. Well, where'd you live before?
Where did I live before? Midtown.
Midtown, that's a great place to live at. How'd you happen to choose this area? Where you're living in Ajax now?
Price,
Price, yeah, that's really important. Yeah. If you were to move, where would you move to next?
Etobicoke.
To be
I don't
closer to
blame you.
family.
I don't blame you, right? Well, when would you like that to happen?
Ideally in the next couple of years.
Okay, fantastic. Do you happen to know what's happening in the market right now in Etobicoke and in Ajax?
Yes.
You do? Okay, great. If you were able to find the right property, you know, a little bit earlier, instead of 2 years, let's say you found the right property within the next few months, would you consider taking a look at it?
No.
Okay, awesome, fantastic. Who do you know that happens to want to move to Etobicoke right now?
Nobody
Nobody?
at the moment.
Okay, great. There you go.
Next.
And this is just somebody I met casually with my wife at gymnastics or hockey or something like that. Hey, what area do you live in? Oh, you live there? Awesome, fantastic. How long have you lived there for?
I just asked you questions too.
What
So
do
when
mean?
you meet somebody at a hockey game or whatever, you just ask them the questions?
You know, that's the funny thing, right? They don't ask me questions. No, I think it's people are so complimented by the fact that you're asking them questions of meaning
That's pertaining to them.
that's pertaining to them, yeah, and it never happens.
Well, in
They
order
always
to
ask how the
be,
market is.
I'm sorry?
They ask how the market is, the real estate market.
Yeah, people will ask me, and that's a different part to it. But when I'm just casually talking to people, I'll always bring in, hey, where do you live? Right? You know, how long have you lived there? Where'd you live before? And it's always, yeah, that's fantastic, that's awesome, that's great. Right? And I just started practicing it like that. This is where I started personalizing it, and that goes to your question that you asked. When you start to use it on a regular basis, and you start to use it everywhere that you're going, a party or whatever else, you start to automatically personalize it, because you don't have that pressure, you don't have the build-up, I'm about to go knock on a door, thinking about what kind of objections are you gonna have, do I have them memorized or whatever else. You just start practicing it with everybody. And it becomes your own, and it fits your personality. Did I answer that well?
yeah, I think the challenge for some people is making sure that they just memorize something, but then put themselves into it. Thanks, Adam.
Okay, so some of you might have plans, but what I'd like you to do, and this is some homework for you to do, and it's where you start. It's really easy to do, and we talked about this last time, is this is the Mike Ferry script, and what I'd like you to do is these questions. When do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? Where did you move from? How did you happen to pick this area? If you were to move, where would you go next? And when would that be? It's just those 6 lines. Take a little cue card, write it out, type it out, and have 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes in the morning. Set aside, you're drinking your coffee, and you're gonna say it out loud. And repeat it, and repeat it, and repeat it, and repeat it. Just those 6. You don't need to do anything else. Just those 6 things alone. If you keep repeating it, it'll increase your conversion ratio. It'll increase the amount of business that you're gonna be having, the people that you're passing by every single day. I told you the story about being at the party and the old couple that weren't part of the conversation and they heard what was going on. People are constantly watching. There are people that are paying attention to what you're saying right now at this moment, and you didn't even realize it. Right? So that's my little secret of getting started. Just do those 6 things. Ask those 6 questions.
Do you remember off the top of your head where in Connect we had the buyer scripts, seller scripts, and the lead gen scripts?
No, I don't know off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
I'll look it up for everybody.
Yeah, it's in
I
there.
remember, it's in here somewhere.
Well,
I
the
remember
great,
two, but it was like postponed, I can't remember where.
Yeah.
yeah.
Can we get a copy of this one?
Just Mike
Yeah,
Ferry.
Google
It's
Mike
easy.
Ferry
Yeah,
script.
go on to his
Yeah.
website.
Well, and Mike Ferry and
It's very good.
Diana Kokolska, they all come from the same, they all come from Floyd Wickman. Floyd Wickman is the godfather of scripting and the godfather of training. He had a program called the Sweat Hogs. My dad went through it, I remember. Give you a t-shirt, orange. Yeah, back in the day.
They still have that? Sweat Hogs?
That I don't know. Yeah. So when you're looking at Diana's stuff and then you look at Mike's stuff, you'll see the structure is exactly the same. And a lot of the stuff that they're saying, it's the same, right? Mike takes a lot of the words out and simplifies it. Diana puts a little bit more of her own flavor into it.
Yeah, hers are a
Does
little
anybody mark the
American.
book?
Sorry?
Hers are a little American.
The funny thing is people say
They're
that
both
Mike's
American.
completely American. He's
Yeah.
too arrogant,
Mm.
right? Although, when you use it with your own tonality and your own personality, it's not. My dad, and earlier on I mentioned about, you know, how he didn't speak English, and I've repeated it a couple of times. He didn't know the extra words. He just didn't. And Irene, you've met my dad before, right?
I have.
Yeah, he's a character.
He's a character.
He also has this ability to be able to build a tremendous amount of trust with clients because they feel that he's effective.
Is he always in black?
No,
That I don't know.
no.
Every time I see him wearing black.
No,
You sell now.
Yeah, you sell now.
Sell
Okay.
now.
Well,
Sign here.
my dad taught me something, and it's all related to scripts and communication. You know, my dad taught me something. You're at an opera presentation, I'd accompany him sometimes, right? And then, you know, and my dad's sitting across the table, and all of a sudden his hand comes across the table. Right? And he says, do it. Do it. But, you know, listen. This is good deal. Do it. And he puts his hand out, and he's waiting with his smile, and, you know, he's like mischievous a little bit, right? And the next thing you know, the hand comes across and it's shaking. Congratulations, right? And he gets the friggin' deal. Right? Dad taught me that it's not about what you pay for it, it's not about what you sell it for. That's a detail that you're getting hung up on. Every seller's happy that they eventually sold the property. The path that they started with you has completed. Every buyer is happy that they bought a property because the path that they started with you has come to a completion. The goal has been accomplished. There's no more questions about when are we going to sell, when's our moving day, when are we going to buy, when's our moving day. Those questions don't matter anymore. Right? Dad taught me, like, what are you really paying attention to? What are you really making important? People want to buy and sell. What are the reasons why? The baby's on the way, they have to have it by July 10th. They have to. There's no choice. So what are you doing? Make them happy, give them what they want. Right? Obviously you're going to look at comparables and you're going to consult them properly and everything else, and you're not going to leave any money on the table. But money on the table is also timing. You know, you'll get them $10,000 more 30 days from now. But hold on a second. It's worth it for me to sell for $10,000 less 3 weeks earlier. Right? Are you getting in the way of the deal? How are your listening skills and how are the questions that you're asking? Are you making it about you or are you making it about them? This is about making it about them. Right? Practicing these scripts and getting the rust out is where your mindset goes back to, it's about them, it's not about you. Yes?
Do you have a script for, say, you go to a listing presentation and unfortunately you don't get the opportunity to list with those clients to list with you. Their house is now up, it's been up for weeks, a couple months and stuff. Do you have a script where you revisit that?
Well, they're in a contract, I can't interfere with their contract for selling their home, right? Although Robin, listen, how's it going with the sale? Fantastic, awesome, you know, great choice, I love their pictures, that's absolutely great. I just wanted to let you know I'm going to be listing a property around the corner, something that you were looking for. Would you be interested in taking a look at it? Yeah, are you under contract for buying? No, I'm not. Okay, fantastic.
They've already bought.
Well, this is a variation. So if they've already bought and they're under contract, you can't talk to them.
Okay.
But you don't know that they bought yet. So
No,
you
I
can
sold,
call them.
they were my buyers.
Oh,
Also, they bought and then they listed with somebody else?
They
Yeah.
listed with an aunt because they had to, and they gave us every explanation in the world, especially since we sold a condo in the next door building with competition, and they've been sitting on the market for 2 months. But they're under contract. There's no script for that.
Don't make yourself available. Make yourself available, but don't make yourself available. It's like, yeah, you got a great property, I just don't want the listing. That was really quick, and that might have confused you a little bit. Any of you?
yeah.
The psychology behind that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a great house, we're just not a fit.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right? They end up thinking, well, what do you mean? What's wrong with my property? What's wrong with me? Why won't you take me? You've just kind of changed the power structure that you get
Yeah.
within the relationship, right? Nothing's 100%. If they've signed a contract, you can't do anything about it. Just, you continue to do the best that you do. Right? List another property in the building. Do another open house in the building. Just do your job.
Just bring a buyer.
Yeah.
That's even better.
Listen, I have a client of mine, and she's bought and sold like 10 properties with me, right? And another agent came in, and he's a big agent, meaning that he has a massive team. He has his own company. And she called me yesterday, she said, how much do you think I can get for my place? And I said, I don't know. You know, I looked really quickly, somewhere around, let's say 830 and 850 would probably be around the price. Okay, so I make my decision. And I said, okay, well, so what's your decision? I'm gonna go with so-and-so because he told me
I
that
can
we
get
put it
so
on the
much more.
market for $950 and we'll get it, and we'll sell it for $930. That's a $100,000 difference,
Yeah. You buying this?
right? And she says, and she's extremely loyal, she's giving me lots of referrals, she's done 10 properties with me, by the way, keep in mind.
5.
10. Right, she's done 10 properties with me. Right, someone told her something, I'm not gonna go disparage the other agent, let him put it up for $950. And she said, if I don't get this and this price, that's it. I'm not gonna reduce, this is what I want to sell for. And I'm still buying with you, so no problem. I signed a contract with you for buying. I said, okay, no problem. I said, since you're gonna do that, right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call him up so he can give me a referral. She says, oh, this is a good idea. Okay, yeah, you do this. So I'm gonna call the agent up and I say, hey, listen, right, do you want a listing? Give me a referral. If he happens to get lucky, he might. Do I get compensated? Yeah. Do I still have her as a buyer and under contract as a buyer? Yeah. Okay, perfect world, I'd get the listing as well, but, you know, she's happy. And do I have the confidence that I can get $100,000 more from 830 to 930? Not really. Right, and I don't want to answer those questions, but why hasn't it sold? Why hasn't it sold? It hurts my credibility. I made something out of it.
Will she buy without selling?
Sorry?
Will she buy without selling?
No, she would sell first and then she would end up buying. Right? The
So
other,
it's not, so you ain't still okay buying the.
yeah, and her expectations are unrealistic. Go ahead.
I think that even if you're, you're doing your presentation, you're presenting well, and there's just something that doesn't jive, and you don't get it, because she has somebody else who wants to.
Yeah.
If you close it on being a positive experience and, you know, either making them feel really good luck on selling your house, and because it comes back to you when something doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because then they'll remember that that last little rapport that you've established could come back in 3 months when the listing's been stagnant
Yeah.
and off the market.
I go to all the masterminds that they have where it's people like Irene that are going to be presenting. We do them at our office. And I listen to these top agents and I want to hear what they have to say. And they talk about their stories. And there are stories out there, and I'm sure Irene has them as well, where she's had a repeat client that ended up listing with somebody else. And the typical part of the story is that, you know, you feel kind of offended. They've been my clients for so long, and now they've listed with somebody else. But we don't know the whole story of why. And then typically the story turns into, it was a few years later, you know, they were ghosted, And then a few years later, they ended up bumping into each other, or they talked, and the person said, listen, I didn't have the opportunity to tell you, but this is what was happening. I really didn't find another way to be able to get out of it. Although we're looking at selling our property that we just bought. We'd really like you to list this one. Right? Be cautious about getting hung up on things that you don't have the details about. Just be really cautious about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For spending all this time with us. Before we
Thanks,
wrap
Amy.
up, guys, do you have any more questions? Anything specific? You might think of some after you leave, so
Thank you very
don't
much.
mind, we can, what's that?
Thank you, just thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, thanks.
If anybody has anything specific that they want to ask you, are you cool sharing your email address?
Yeah, email, give me a call too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, yes?
Very kind of you.
Aw.
You have it up, Kate?
David.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Okay, Patrick.
Yeah.
So what's your nationality?
I'm sorry?
What nationality are you?
Serbian.
Oh, okay.
And
so-
Dad is also Milan Bauk.
Yeah.
Junior, junior.
Yeah, so I come from a background where our people are very direct,
Yes.
and I just like they you, right? Even if you're Serbian, there's no loyalty, right? And you have to really understand what they're asking you. And you have to give them value, and they don't necessarily communicate. If you're not asking them questions, they're not gonna communicate it to you voluntarily at all. And you've had Serbian clients as well in the Etobicoke area. All right, you could agree with that, all right? So the communication and keeping the conversation open and staying away from a battle, making it about them, when that becomes your habit, your personal life changes. My children are scripting me now. My wife's an introvert. She doesn't like crowds. She doesn't like to stand up or to be seen or anything else. What she's doing now, she's using the scripts on me, and I've got to be like, yeah, you win. She's using it in public. She actually returns things to the store now. She never used to do that before. That was emotionally embarrassing for her and difficult to do. Oh yeah, now? Not a problem.
Is she Serbian?
Yeah, she's Serbian, yeah. Although she's very much a high S, right? It's changed her, and she comes to me now and she says, Milan, this is like the best thing ever. Just listening to you scripting every morning with somebody, and then doing it with me,
Gave her confidence.
it's changed her life. And it's made everything else easier. Okay? Give me a call, send me an email if you have any questions, if you just want to chat. All right? If something's not making sense to you, call me.
Thank you.